After 6 months of sewing, she revealed an incredible secret: shatter it and call it an accident. The county fair had arrived in Maplewood, and the entire town buzzed with excitement. The scent of caramel apples and roasted corn wafted through the air, mingling with the sweet aroma of fresh apple pie that seemed to echo the warmth of community spirit. But not far from the cheerful chatter stood Emma, heart racing in sync with the heartbeat of her hope. Her fingers, calloused yet gentle, knew the fabric beneath them better than her own skin. 6 months, that's how long she poured her soul into a quilt, each patch a labor of love, a story of her late grandmother's life etched in vibrant colors. Tonight was the moment she would unveil it. With her spirited daughter Lily by her side, Emma felt a weight of ambition press down on her shoulders. Dreaming bigger than their modest means demanded, they were united in their fight to forge a future where dreams weren't just fairy tales told in whispers. As she prepared to reveal the quilt's intricate patterns, an unexpected discovery sent her heart into a tailspin. Tucked within the layers of fabric, a shriveled letter held words that unraveled the enigmatic tapestry of her grandmother's life. It spoke of a love too profound to remain hidden, an inheritance entwined with secrets that could change their lives. This was more than a quilt, it became a legacy, a challenge, a loud cry against borders drawn by wealth and lineage, particularly against Margaret, the town's affluent neighbor, whose glaring eyes reflected disdain. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Emma stood before the crowd, her heart pounded like a drum, the quilt cradled like a fragile dream. Anticipation hung like cotton candy in the air, sweet yet sticky. The murmurs swelled. Some recognized the weight of her efforts while others only saw a seamstress struggling to make her mark. With a nod to Lily, Emma gathered her breath and readied the quilt for its debut, poised like a phoenix about to rise from the ashes. Then it happened, a sudden jolt, a child tumbling forward, laughter transforming into gasps. The quilt slipped from her fingers, splitting apart. The vibrant stories imbued in every thread unraveled before their very eyes. A gasp echoed through the audience, and for a heartbeat, time stood still. Emma's heart raced, but she stood tall, resolute. The tattered remnants of her dreams lay before her like the community's hidden truths. As the whispers of judgment mingled with the night air, she felt her pulse quicken. Would she bow to expectations and class divides, or would she collect the pieces, both of her quilt and her spirit, to stitch her story anew? Emma's eyes danced across her community, faces filled with shock, some with sympathy, others with the cruel judgment she had long fought against. Would this moment shape not just her destiny but shift the very fabric of their town? The question lingered, heavy and electric. Would she rise or fall? Would they let the tides of change breach their familiar shores? Emma's story teetered on the edge, just as the night held the promise of something more profound. The quilt, though shattered, somehow echoed with the sound of rebirth. Emma stood there, breathless, the remnants of her quilt strewn across the grass like fallen stars. The audience's whispers sliced through the uncertain silence, a mix of disbelief and curiosity swirling all around her. She could sense the weight of their judgment pressing down, threatening to crush the hope she worked so hard to weave into each patch. Lily, not fully grasping the gravity of the moment, tugged at Emma's sleeve, her innocent eyes wide with concern. "Mommy, why does it look broken? Is the quilt okay?" The question hung in the air, heavy and raw, reminding Emma of her daughter's unwavering belief in the magic of what they created together. Emma knelt, feeling the cool blades of grass beneath her knees, and began gathering the tangled threads. As she reached for the fabric that held her grandmother's legacy, she felt something tug at her heart. This wasn't the end of the story, it could be the beginning of a new chapter. Taking a deep breath, she decided then and there to reclaim the moment. "Everyone, wait. Her voice wavered but held conviction. This quilt is not just a collection of stitches. It's a story of love, struggle, and resilience. She could see a mix of surprise and intrigue on faces she'd known her whole life. Some leaned in, eager to hear more. Each patch represents a piece of my grandmother's journey, a story I want to share with you all. Yes, it fell apart, but sometimes, the most beautiful things emerge from chaos. As she spoke, a glimmer of hope flickered within her. Emma carefully spread the quilt bits across the grass, evoking gasps from the crowd. Crimson, azure, and golden fabrics mingled in a patchwork that brilliantly mirrored her grandmother's colorful spirit. Margaret's expression twisted from disdain to thoughtfulness. Emma noted the shift, the possibility that maybe, just maybe, this moment could bridge the chasm that wealth had carved in their lives. What if we put this quilt back together? Emma continued, her heart racing. What if we showed our children the beauty of collaboration and understanding? A neighborhood that stitches together, a community that learns from each other's stories. A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. Curious glances met her challenge, and among the spectators, people started to step forward. An older gentleman picked up a blue swatch adorned with delicate embroidery. "I remember your grandmother making that," he murmured, memory lighting up his face. Slowly, more began to join in, gathering up patches, pausing to admire each piece, recalling stories yet untold. Laughter began to replace the whispers, and the tension that had gripped the fair melted away as they leaned into the shared history represented in the quilt. Emma looked at Lily, her daughter smiling, her small hands clutching a vibrant piece of fabric. Together, they became part of something significant, a mosaic of hopes and dreams slowly rising from the ashes of disappointment. Each fragment of the quilt, a reminder that beauty often arises from the broken pieces of our lives. As the crowd began to collaborate, Emma felt a warmth in her chest, a rising tide of solidarity. Yet, deep within her, a question lingered: what would the community do with these revelations moving forward? Would they be willing to build connections that transcended past grievances? The momentum felt electrifying, yet Emma couldn't shake a worry as the night deepened. Could this newfound unity withstand the trials likely ahead? Would they truly embrace the legacy her grandmother left behind? As laughter and chatter filled the air, Emma realized the journey had just begun. She felt a twist of excitement and dread rising like a crescendo within her, quietly questioning, was she ready for the next revelation that awaited in the shadows of her family's history? Lily danced around the quilt pieces, her laughter ringing out like chimes in the evening breeze. Emma watched her daughter, feeling a mix of pride and apprehension. People were coming together, but there was still a rawness in the air. What if the unity they were building was fragile? "Emma, can I help?" A voice broke through her thoughts. It was Margaret, the woman who had always seemed too busy, too successful to care. Now, Margaret bent down and picked up a faded patch with care. "I remember the story behind this one," she said softly, her voice almost hesitant. "Your grandmother and I, we used to compete in who could make the best quilts. She taught me a thing or two about sewing." Surprised, Emma stepped closer. "Really? I didn't know that." Margaret's eyes softened as she looked at the patchwork. "She made it for my first child. It was full of love." Tensions melted as others gathered around. Stories flowed like water, tales of heartache, joy, and lost friendships. Each shared memory drew them closer, weaving invisible threads connecting their lives just as the fabric connected in the quilt. Emma felt her heart swell. This wasn't just her grandmother's legacy, it was something greater. It was about the community they were all part of. Yet, in the back of her mind, doubt creeped in. Could they all hold on to this newfound connection? As they began to piece the quilt back together, several neighbors began picking apart their own old wounds. "I remember when heads were turned away instead of hands reaching out," a voice murmured from the crowd. Others nodded in agreement. As struggles were shared, a collective sigh seemed to rise and fall, marking both sorrow and relief. With each patch that found its home, the atmosphere grew lighter, brighter. Emma saw the change in the faces around her. Look at us, she thought. We're stitching our lives together again, filling in the gaps created by years of misunderstanding. But shadows still loomed. Was it just this moment that would pass, or could they build something lasting? Emma's gaze fell on Lily, who was now drawing elaborate patterns in the grass, blissfully unaware of the complexity enveloping them. Emma knelt beside her, running her fingers over the colorful fabric. "What's wrong, Mommy?" Lily asked, tilting her head up, her innocence shining through. Emma hesitated but then smiled. "Nothing, sweetie. Just thinking about how it feels good to have everyone helping. That's because they love you," Lily declared, as if the answer were obvious. Emma's heart swelled at her daughter's purity. Maybe love was enough to forge ahead. As the last pieces were sewn together, a sense of togetherness surged, but Emma sensed that everything might not be resolved. Margaret stood back, her face thoughtful. "This is beautiful, Emma. But what happens when we disagree again? Will this quilt be enough to hold us together?" The crowd paused, a hush falling over them. Emma felt the heaviness of the question settle over her like a blanket. As she looked around, the joy and laughter faded slightly, replaced by uncertainty. Could they face future storms together? Could they redefine their community beyond the quilt? Emma swallowed. She had shared a bit of her grandmother's story today, but there was still much more hidden in the folds. This was just the tip of the iceberg, and if they were to truly move forward, the secrets of her family had to come to light. Determined now, she gripped Lily's tiny hand, feeling fire ignite in her belly. What if there's more to discover? About my grandmother, about our past. As she met the gazes of her neighbors, the weight of her family history loomed large. Emma took a breath, feeling the threads of her heart weave tighter around their shared hope. Tonight was just the beginning. Are we ready to unravel more of this story together? The gathering shifted, the air charged with anticipation. Emma knew the next steps wouldn't be easy, but the invitation to confront their past had just been laid bare. What stories lay in wait, hidden in the shadows, waiting for the light to reveal them? Emma felt the weight of her neighbor's eyes on her, a mix of curiosity and uncertainty reflecting back. She could sense the unspoken fears swirling in the air, a potent blend of hope and apprehension. The moment felt electric, charged with the possibilities that lay ahead. This was it, no turning back now. Why not start with stories? Emma urged, her voice steady but her heart racing. Every patch of this quilt holds a memory, a lesson. If we unveil our past together, we might forge something even stronger. Margaret stepped forward, her brow furrowed. What do you mean? There are things we buried long ago for a reason. Emma swallowed hard but nodded. Yes, but isn't it time to dig? To see what we've left unresolved? My grandmother always said, the more you understand where you come from, the stronger your roots grow. A hush draped over the crowd, their breaths hanging heavy between them. Then a voice broke through, a woman named Claire, her hands trembling. When I was a little girl, I remember your grandmother's kindness, and also her pain. There was a fire, Emma. A terrible fire that changed everything. Gasps followed Claire's revelation. Emma felt the ground shift beneath her feet as memories from her childhood rushed back. She had heard whispers about the fire but had never understood its impact. What happened? She breathed, desperate for clarity. She lost not just her quilt but the stories woven into it. Everything she cherished, Claire revealed, eyes glistening with unshed tears. After that, we all kept our distance. We didn't know how to reach out, how to comfort her. Julia, another neighbor, nodded. And it made us believe we should do the same, but the silence hurt us all in the end. Emma's heart ached as she listened to their shared regret. The pain hadn't just been her grandmother's, it had echoed through the community all these years, uniting them in their avoidance. So, we let fear dictate our connections, Emma said softly. We wove separations instead of love. Lily, sitting cross-legged on the grass, looked up at Emma with wide, earnest eyes. "But we can change it, right, Mommy? We can make it into something good." Emma knelt beside her, pulling her close. "Yes, sweetheart. This can be a new beginning if we're brave enough." Margaret glanced around, her expression shifting from trepidation to resolve. "I do want to know more. Maybe we all need to unravel some truths, to start mending what was damaged." A murmur of agreement rippled through the group. Encouraged, Emma rose to her feet. "Let us not just dwell on sorrow. We can find joy in these memories, too. Share them. Laugh about the silly moments, cry together. And as we do, let us stitch a new story, one of hope, resilience, and community." Slowly, neighbors began stepping forward to share their tales. The evening air filled with voices that rose and fell harmoniously, weaving a new narrative among the fabric of their lives. Words flowed, memories of joy, laughter, and heartache mingling as they uncovered their shared past. Yet as the stories unraveled, Emma felt a presence lurking at the edges. The shadows of old grievances were still close by, threatening to emerge once more. Laughter seemed ephemeral as echoes of pain wrestled for attention in the corners of her mind. Margaret's voice pierced through the gathering again, steady yet somber. "But some stories could shatter the foundation we're trying to build, Emma. What if the truths shake us to our very core? Are we truly ready to face what lies buried?" Emma's gaze darted around, locking eyes with her neighbors, each of them caught between fear and hope. The fire that had claimed her grandmother's quilt and their collective silence felt like a ticking clock, looming over their newfound connection. In that moment, Emma understood, this was just the beginning of their journey. The deeper they dove, the more they had to confront. Secrets, hurt, and possibly forgiveness awaited, hanging thick in the air like a heavy quilt draped over an open window. Would they emerge stronger together, or would the weight of the past shatter their fragile bonds? The question lingered, echoing with urgency. Emma took a deep breath. What will we uncover next? Are we ready to face the truths that linger in the shadows, and will they unite us or tear us apart? As the sun dipped below the horizon, the fading light cast a warm glow on Emma's neighbors, their faces illuminated by a blend of anticipation and anxiety. The air was thick with a renewed determination, but each of them carried the weight of the past like stones in their pockets. Emma's heart raced as she took in the sight of her community, now more familiar and intertwined than ever. Everyone was here, vulnerable and ready to share. "Let us gather in a circle," she suggested, her voice steady. "We'll stand together, and every story can add a stitch to our quilt." As they formed a circle on the grassy lawn, Emma felt a spark of strength surge through her. The first story came from Harold, an elderly man whose gnarled hands shook a bit as he began to speak. It was during the holiday season, a long time ago. His eyes glimmered with the memories he held dear. "I remember your grandmother offering us cookies while we strung lights on the porch. But I also remember how she cried after the fire. It was as if the spirit of our community was lost that day." His voice cracked, and Emma saw the corners of his eyes crinkle with unshed tears. The group listened intently, their collective silence urging him onward. "We thought it was best to stay away, to allow her space, but that space turned into a chasm." The regret in his tone hung heavy in the air. Before anyone could react, Claire spoke up. "Harold, your words though painful resonate. I lost my brother a year before the fire. I couldn't find solace, so I shut everyone out. I thought it was my burden to carry." Others began to murmur their shared experiences, each tale woven with regret, sorrow, and unity as they realized how deeply interconnected their stories really were. Emma felt as though they were peeling back the layers of an onion, revealing the rawness beneath. But as they shared, another presence lingered close by, a hint of dread that pressed against her ribcage, wanting to emerge. Suddenly, Margaret stepped forward. "We cannot keep pretending that we are untouched by the grief that courses through this neighborhood. There are unsung truths we bury out of fear. I couldn't say it before, but I still hold resentment for what happened. It shaped my choices, even my relationship with my own children. Gasps filled the circle. Emma's heart pounded in her chest. Margaret continued, we all walked on eggshells, and the quiet became our survival method. But what if we broke the silence? What if the truth isn't just about pain but about healing and freedom? As if on cue, a raven cawed above them, slicing through the gathering's tense silence. The simple sound jolted everyone as they looked skyward. The darkness was creeping in, accompanied by a touch of foreboding. Claire nodded, her eyes sparkling with determination. We were not just defined by the fire or by the things we lost. We can repair what has been torn. It's going to hurt, but we owe it to ourselves to heal. Emma felt a wave of hope wash over her. So we'll confront those remnants of our past. Even the darkest ones? She asked, as their energy shifted from that of tension to something lighter yet more profound. Margaret turned to Emma, her voice earnest. Yes, we must share all of it, the laughter, the pain, the secrets. It's going to take every last stitch to bind us together, but we can't back down now. The circle tightened, an invisible thread pulling them all closer, binding them with shared resolve and flickering hope. Emma's breath caught at the wildness of it all. What if confronting these stories cracked the eggshell they had walked on for so long? What if the truth really shone brighter in the light of day? As twilight descended, Emma was engulfed in a sense of urgency. This is just the first step, she said, her voice rising above the whispers of the crowd. Whatever we discover will challenge us. But it might also free us. Are we truly ready to turn over the stones buried in our hearts, even if we find something hidden that could change everything? The weight of the air thickened as the group exchanged uneasy glances. And Emma felt the pulse of their shared decision echoing between them. Would the digging reveal hope or further heartache? Consumed by anticipation, Emma stood firm, aware that the journey into their collective past had only just begun. The air grew heavier, as if the gathering itself was inhaling, waiting for a spark. Emma could see it in the expressions around her, anxiety swirling, hope flickering, and a growing sense of solidarity amongst them. Each person was a vital thread, weaving into the story that lay just waiting to be told. Let us break the silence, Emma urged, her voice ringing with urgency. Who wants to go next? She scanned the faces, her heart hammering in her chest. Margaret glanced at her, then at the group, a small smile breaking the tension. I think we should hear from Karen, she said, nodding toward a younger woman standing a little behind the others, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. Karen shifted from foot to foot, uncertainty etching deeper lines into her brow. I don't know where to start, she stammered. The vulnerability in her voice echoed in Emma's heart. It's all right, just speak from your heart, Emma encouraged gently. Taking a deep breath, Karen stepped forward. I used to think my past was just shadows. Something to hide from. But this year, after the fire, it all felt like too much. I lost my childhood home. And in losing that, I lost part of myself. Her voice trembled but steadied as she embraced the moment. I used to want to escape. But instead, I wanted to hold on to every fading echo of laughter that once filled those walls. I think that's why I pushed people away. A ripple of understanding swept through the circle. The truth in her words resonated deeply. Every moment spent avoiding the pain just deepened it, Claire murmured, her gaze fixed on the ground. I thought moving was the answer. I just wanted to forget. A low hush fell over the group as they absorbed Karen's confession. The night deepened, and the first stars twinkled overhead, almost as if listening in on their revelations. We need to remember, we owe that to each other, Emma voiced, feeling the strength of their unity bolster her own courage. Then she turned to Margaret. What do you feel need saying? Margaret swallowed hard, her eyes glossing over. I often wondered if my resentments were the flames, burning bridges between us all. The truth is, I'm angry at the fire, at those who distanced themselves, and even at myself for holding on to that anger. More heads nodded in solidarity, sensing the collective healing in the air, though the weight of honesty also cast a shadow. Emma, feeling emboldened, took a step closer. What happens when we speak the things we fear most? If we open that door, can we stand together on the other side? The question hung heavy between them. Just then, a glimmer of insight sparked within her. Maybe, just maybe, this gathering is about more than just sharing. Maybe it's about creating something new from the ashes. Quiet murmurs of agreement spread around the circle, hope igniting among the flickering shadows of the past. Can we dare to imagine a future without this burden? Emma continued, her voice rising. What if we could gather these stories, hold them gently, and weave them into something beautiful, a tapestry that honors all we've lost and all we're becoming? Margaret's gaze softened, allowing a trace of warmth to seep into her expression. I think we're all ready to try. The air felt lighter suddenly, vibrating with the possibility of connection and transformation, but deep beneath, Emma sensed a deeper, unaddressed truth waiting to be unveiled. As the night pressed on, she couldn't shake the feeling that something monumental was about to emerge. Then, just as the last light from the setting sun faded, a crack echoed through the stillness. A stone, a large one hidden beneath the grass, rolled away, revealing a long-forgotten memory buried within their shared history. With hearts racing, they all turned toward the revelation, a chill running through the gathering. What other secrets were trapped beneath the weight of their unspoken truths? Emma felt the tug of destiny pulling them closer to the edge of a new understanding, even as apprehension gripped her heart. It was time to explore beyond the veil of their fears. What lay beneath the surface could shatter their realities, or perhaps bring them together in ways they had never imagined. Could they truly unearth the secrets of their past? And would those secrets lead them to freedom or despair? The stone rolled away with a deafening thud, reverberating through the already heavy air. Emma's heart raced as she stepped closer, her breath catching in her throat. The dark cavity revealed beneath the stone seemed alive, whispering secrets of the past. A shared gasp threaded through the circle, eyes widening in collective anticipation. What is it? Karen asked, stepping forward beside Emma, her curiosity alternating with fear. The others followed suit, shifting as they caught sight of what lay hidden. As the shadows played tricks on their minds, a faint glimmer caught Emma's eye, something metallic, wedged in the dirt. She knelt, dust and debris clinging to her fingers as she reached into the opening. With a gentle tug, she pulled out what appeared to be a small, rusted locket. Look at this, Emma said, holding it up for everyone to see. The locket swung gently on its chain, catching the starlight as if it were alive. Margaret leaned in, her breath hitching in her throat. "Isn't that my mother's?" she whispered, disbelief etched on her face. "I thought it was lost in the fire." A wave of emotion swept through the gathering. For Margaret, this was more than an object, it was a piece of her identity, a tangible connection to her past. The realization sent shivers down Emma's spine. What did this mean? "Maybe this is a sign," Claire interjected, her voice rising above the surrounding murmurings. "A sign that we need to confront everything that has been buried. Not just physically, but inside us, too." Her tone held a mixture of fear and hope, raw and unfiltered. Emma nodded, feeling the weight of the moment settle in. "We can't just look at the locket. We need to talk about what it represents, the memories, the hurt, the love. It's all intertwined, like strands of a tapestry." Margaret reached for the locket, her fingers brushing against Emma's hand. "Can we open it?" In that instant, a hush swallowed the group as anticipation hung in the air. Eyes flicked nervously between Margaret and the locket. What would they find? Inside could be revelations or reminders of pain. "Let us do it," Karen said, the tremble in her voice laced with resolve. "We need to see what's inside. Whatever it is, we have to face it. Together." With a few tentative clicks, Margaret pried the locket open. A faded photograph stared back at them, a smiling couple with a little girl nestled in their arms. Their bridging smiles radiated warmth despite the dulled edges of time. This image transcended the locket's tarnish, igniting a spark deep within each of them. "That's me and my mom and dad," Margaret said, a soft smile gracing her lips as her voice cracked. "I remember that day. It was everything to me once and then it all changed." The photograph shimmered with lost love and warmth, but in Margaret's eyes swirled a storm. I pushed them away after the fire, believing they abandoned me. I never wanted to see that pain again." Claire stepped closer, her expression softening. "None of us wanted to see the pain, Margaret. We've all buried pieces of ourselves, but every secret we leave in the dark only grows larger." As tears brimmed in Margaret's eyes, Emma felt the collective weight of loss, regret, and hope build amongst the group. They were encircled by unspooled emotions, unraveling before them yet tangled in the fabric of their shared history, a history that needed to be reclaimed. "What if we begin by sharing our memories of those we've lost?" Emma suggested. "Let us honor them and learn how their stories connect to our own." But just as hope flickered brighter, a chill whispered through the air once again. It was then that Emma realized, the locket was just a doorway. What more lay hidden beneath the surface? A crack sounded off in the distance, hinting at secrets ready to break free. Would they find pieces of themselves in the shadows? Emma had the unease of knowing, the past was reaching out for them once more, and she couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the edge of uncovering something monumental. Could they truly find healing amidst the unveiling of their history? Or would their journey plunge them deeper into despair? The air was thick with unspoken fears as they all stood there, eyes glued to the locket and the photograph inside it. The silence felt heavy, like the tension before a storm. Margaret's fingers trembled as she held the locket, an anchor to her past, while Emma's heart ached with the gravity of their shared wounds. "I used to hold on to this picture every day," Margaret finally whispered, her voice barely audible. "After the fire, it felt like the only thing left of them. But I'm terrified to look at it too closely because I thought they would disappear from me forever." Karen stepped closer, placing a hand on Margaret's shoulder. "You deserve to remember them how they were. Not just the pain of losing them." Emboldened by Karen's supportive gesture, Margaret took a deep breath, staring into the photograph. "I pushed everyone away, my friends, my family. I thought distancing myself would soften the blow, but it only made things worse." Emma exchanged glances with Claire, a surge of responsibility pulsing through her. "What if we all share something? A moment, a memory, anything that connects us to who we've lost? Maybe then we can lift that burden and stop hiding from it." The suggestion hung in the air, a fragile thread binding them. Each face reflected uncertainty, but also a flicker of hope. After a long pause, Claire nodded, her eyes firm. "I'll go first." As Claire began to share her story, her voice quivered but grew steadier with each word. "When I was 12, my grandmother moved in with us. She was my best friend, always had a way of making bad days brighter." A smile broke through her tears. "She taught me to whip up her famous apple pie. It was the secret to every holiday in my family." Her voice caught as the memories washed over her. "When she passed, I couldn't even look at an apple for months. I buried everything she meant to me. I let that memory die, too." Margaret leaned forward, drawn to Claire's raw vulnerability. "But you're still here, that means her spirit is too." One by one, they shared snippets, moments both sweet and harrowing, a chorus of sorrow intermingled with love. Karen spoke of the curious teacher who believed in her, her voice shaking as she recalled how she lost touch with that passion after the woman's passing. Emma felt the warmth of her smile as she shared how her own mother had held her hand through tough times, but also how she had shut down after losing that guiding presence. Each story felt like laying another stone atop the grave of their collective grief. They were learning that even the aching memories could carry the beauty of love, they could release the darkness that held them captive. Margaret, emboldened now, added, "My parents, they fought through everything just to stay together. I remember them laughing while cooking together, even when things were hard." A slight smile appeared on her face. Maybe I need to let that love ground me instead of the pain of what happened afterwards. As the words poured out, the photograph shifted in the locket, as if the spirits of their loved ones resonated with their stories. Suddenly, the atmosphere felt lighter, more alive. But just as their hearts began to mend, a deeper tremor shook the ground beneath them. Another crack echoed through the night, this one closer, sharper. Emma froze, her pulse racing again as a sensation overtook her, a familiar form of fear yet tinged with anticipation. "Did you hear that?" she whispered, glancing around at the others, who nodded in alarm. Maybe we should see what else is down there." The invitation whispered a challenge. Could it lead them to yet another piece of their past? Whatever lay under the surface was still waiting to be uncovered, and Emma couldn't shake the feeling that it would bring them even closer together, even if it also reopened the old wounds they'd just begun to heal. What could they find down that darkened pathway? Would it deepen their understanding or force them to confront truths too heavy to bear? Emma felt an electric pulse of anxiety surge through her. Despite the comforting memories they had shared, the tremor was a stark reminder that the past could also hold secrets, weights they weren't prepared to uncover. She took a tentative step forward, her voice barely rising above the echo of the crack in the earth. "I think we need to see what's going on. Together." Margaret swallowed hard, her resolve crumbling beneath the surface of her fear. Yet, something in Emma's voice stirred a flicker of courage within her. "Okay," she nodded, her voice steadier than she expected, "but let South stay close. Whatever is down there, we face it as a group." They formed a tight circle, their shoulders brushing, their breaths mingling in a shared rhythm of apprehension as they approached the edge of the jagged ground. The darkness seemed to pulsate, urging them forward with an unseen force. Emma led the charge, propelled by a fierce curiosity mixed with trepidation. The air thickened with an earthy aroma, mingling with the familiar scent of damp wood and the distant night's chill. Each step felt like a plunge into the unknown, one that could either scar or comfort. Claire whispered words of encouragement to herself, reminding her of the warmth of her grandmother's embrace, fortifying her resolve. As they neared the fracture in the ground, the light grew dim. Shadows danced around them, whispering long-forgotten tales. Just then, a soft glow flickered from the crevice, illuminating delicate edges that seemed to shimmer with life. They gathered closer, hearts racing as they strained to see. "Is that?" Karen squinted, her breath hitching. "It looks like glass." Emma knelt down, reaching out tentatively. "Like a shard from something big?" When her fingertips brushed against the smooth edge, sensation rippled through her. The energy resonated with feelings buried deep, swirling memories that had long been pushed aside. With effort, she dislodged the piece, pulling it from the earth, revealing a larger piece. A gasp escaped her lips. "It's beautiful." "Look at the patterns," Claire gasped, her eyes wide. "It's like it tells a story." The shard reflected light, casting prismatic rainbows that danced along their faces. Each facet seemed to hold a piece of their collective histories, fragments of love and loss woven together like a tapestry. Emma turned it over in her hands, the cold glass a stark contrast to the warmth in her heart. "This is something." But just as they began to marvel at the discovery, another tremor jolted through the ground, more violent this time. The earth shook beneath their feet and a large crack snaked deeper, pulling at the edges dangerously. "Get back!" Margaret shouted, panic creeping into her voice. They stumbled away, hearts pounding. The panic was palpable, a tight knot of fear as they clutched their locket, once more a symbol of their shared pain. "Wait!" Emma gasped as the shards cascaded down into the gap below. What if there's more? What if it holds something we've lost?" A pulse of adrenaline coursed through the group, igniting a sense of purpose. They were on the brink of something monumental, a collision of their past and present. The air buzzed with uncertainty, but Emma sensed a moment of clarity blooming within. "What if we can recover what was shattered before?" she murmured, eyes shining with a mix of determination and dread. Could they summon the courage to delve deeper? As they stood on the precipice of discovery, a deep voice echoed from the void below, sending chills racing down their spines. Do you dare to uncover what lies beneath? Emma's heart raced. The path ahead felt both treacherous and transformative. What awaited them might rip open old wounds or finally liberate them. They exchanged glances, a silent accord passing between them. We aren't backing down, Karen said, the steel in her voice fortifying their resolve. As they stood united on the edge of the unknown, the question loomed large: what truths waited to be unearthed? Would they shatter the past or collect the pieces and find their way home? In the quiet aftermath of the tremors that had rattled their world, Emma felt a settling calm wash over the gathering. Although uncertainty mingled with fear in the air, an undeniable strength surged among them, and she couldn't help but sense that they were shifting into a new chapter, a chapter waiting to unfold in the embrace of their shared stories, their intertwined fates. As they stood there tense, the pulse in Emma's heart began to synchronize with the rhythm of hope blossoming in her chest. They were poised at the brink of revelation, the pieces of their collective past both bright and broken hovering like a delicate thread, waiting to be woven into the tapestry of their future. Do we dare? Emma whispered, her eyes scanning the circle of faces. Together? A silent nod from each filled the air with determination. They were ready. Margaret took a step forward, her hand trembling with a mix of fear and bravery, then addressed the crowd. If what lies beneath connects us, it could finally heal the wounds we've carried. We owe it to ourselves and our families. Her voice, steadied by resolve, echoed through the gathering, signaling an unbreakable bond forming anew. They leaned closer to the yawning crack, and together they began to carefully remove dirt and debris, revealing more shards of glass glinting in the dim light. Each piece they unearthed shimmered with the promise of rediscovery. As each facet came into view, they began to see shapes, memories, legacies caught in a beautiful, chaotic kaleidoscope. Look! Karen exclaimed as she picked up a smaller shard, which gleamed. It's part of a frame. It must have held something important. Emma found her voice as her heart swelled. Every shard represents a story, the laughter, the tears, the connections that were once frayed, and now we can piece them back together. The deeper they dug, the more breathtakingly beautiful the shards became, almost like a mosaic, each piece a reflection of someone's story, illuminating the shadows of their collective hurt. Emma, do you see this? Claire called out, her eyes glistening. It's a fragment from my grandmother's favorite teacup. Her voice trembled with joy. It feels like she is here with us, helping us heal. As the connections revealed themselves one by one, they began to discover recollections long whispered about in hushed tones, stories that bound them more fiercely than the fire that took so much away. Emma felt those stories sink deep into the very essence of her being, and she grasped them tightly in her heart. Their shared history was rising from the ashes, and hope blossomed in ways she had only ever dreamed of. As the sun began to stretch its first rays of morning light, illuminating their reckoning, Margaret lifted a shiny, jagged piece of glass, its edging catching the sunlight. I think this could be from the quilt my mother made, the one we always spoke of in the shadows, she murmured, entranced by the realization. It's as if it beckons us to stitch back together not just the quilt but everything that fell apart. Hope flickered like the gentle breeze rolling over them. Then let us do it, Emma declared, filled with renewed energy. Let us gather these pieces, weave our stories into something new, something vibrant that will thrive in the light. The crowd broke into action, no longer hesitant but filled with urgency and eagerness. They gathered the shards, meticulously deliberating over each one, allowing laughter to flow, grief to lift, and healing to bond them like never before. As they placed the glass together on the ground, Emma saw a magnificent pattern begin to emerge, reflecting the stories they shared and the tears they had shed. The fragments formed a vibrant mosaic, revealing new connections among faces who had long been strangers in their hearts, but now stood as friends united by their histories. Together, they embraced those histories, the pain etched into the shards now radiating the potential for hope. No longer were they beholden to the weight of unaddressed sorrow, they were a community rebirthed. Finally, with the sun shining bright overhead, they gathered around their creation, a stunning testament to what they could build together when they dared to confront the shadows of their past. Emma stood back, gazing at the radiant mosaic, tears shimmering in her eyes, her heart alight with joy. Recollections flashed across her mind, her grandmother's laughter, the warmth of community, the love that dwelled beneath anger and resentment. "Together, we'll unveil more stories," she proclaimed. "From now on, let us not bury our memories but celebrate them. We'll honor each patch of joy and sorrow as part of who we are. Our history will not divide us but unite us." The crowd erupted in cheers, and Emma felt the weight of fear lift. They were creating something beautifully whole from what had been fractured. Among those cheers echoed a promise they all shared, to forever weave their stories together, nurturing a community where understanding thrived and love flourished. As laughter intertwined with the warm breezes, Emma turned to see Lily dancing with joy, not just at the sight of their creation, but at the newfound bond around them. Emma grinned, recognizing that this was the true legacy of the quilt, a testament to resilience and love. Facing each other, their hearts brimming with fresh hope, they collectively realized a powerful truth: the essence of community lies not in perfection but in the beautiful patchwork of their stories, both broken and whole. And in that moment, beneath the rising sun, Emma declared with unwavering conviction, "This is how we rise again. Together." The continuum of their stories had just begun, light scattering among them like vibrant threads interlacing a beautiful quilt, unmarred by its past but enriched by its multitude of voices. It was time to live, cherish, and embrace their futures, hand in hand. This significant turning point summoned their strength for the trials that lay ahead, the promise of unity echoing in their hearts. They had transformed the fear of their history into a tapestry of hope, igniting the bright dawn of a new beginning. With the experience of the past etched in their hearts, they spread that warmth through their town, knowing their journey had only just begun. Now more than ever, it was clear, unity would lead them beyond the darkness, stitching them to a forever connected legacy of love, resilience, and fearless discovery. As the sun rose in its full glory, Emma took a deep breath and said, "Let us spread this message of hope beyond Maplewood." And the crowd erupted into joyful agreement. Yes. Towards the future together. Now, don't miss out on even more tales like this, folks. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support for our channel and ensure you never miss a single story. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and let us know how this journey touched your heart. And remember, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.